welcome to ShiftLink's new video series. We really wanted to showcase or spotlight innovations in the social services sector. As you know, ShiftLink works with a number of homeless shelters and hospitals, actually in North America now, I can say that. And a lot of these organizations like yours are doing amazing things for their frontline staff and their clients. So really what this is an opportunity for leaders in our sector like yourself to showcase the possibilities, and we wanted to provide a stage to talk about innovations and heartwarming stories, and mostly to inspire our viewers. So that is the nature of these video sessions, and really without any further ado, I would like to welcome you, Stephen, and have you tell us a little bit about you and your organization.
Great. Well, thanks for having me. My name's Steve Parker. I have had the fortunate pleasure of working at the Shepherds of Good Hope now, I think going on close to 11 years, where I hold the role as senior manager. And we're a shelter and supportive housing operation in Ottawa, Ontario, now spanning from the west all the way to the east end of Ottawa.
Wow, that's great. So how many clients would you serve?
Well, we have in and around 300 per night in our shelter, and we're incredibly proud to announce that this time next year we'll have more than that in our housing as we continue to expand that portfolio.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's great. Can you tell me about a challenging event or an experience that you faced over the last 11 years and how you overcame it?
Sure. It seems like every time we have a new challenging event, we stop and we think, okay, there's nothing else that could be more challenging than this. But then the cycle seems to repeat itself a little bit later on. We certainly I think we can all appreciate that. You know, I think back to just how the drug supply has evolved from crack cocaine and what that looked like back then. And then we saw fentanyl. Now we've seen COVID. And each time it's just like, okay, this can't become any more challenging. And so in response, and I would say this is true, is that you can't provide anything human service related without health. And I think unequivocally, we're going to see a large shift to community care in the next while. And so what we're really fortunate to have had already embedded in our programs is health care providers deeply embedded into community care. And that, I would argue, has been extremely beneficial into overcoming each of the challenges. When you have really good partnerships working together from the social services and the health in the community, being able to address whatever challenges, because we fortunately can't usually predict them very well until they already happen, but that's usually how it goes.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I think, you know, at Shepherds of Good Hope does a really good job of broadcasting some of the great things that you do as an organization, and just your reference to the fentanyl crisis and just how you've adapted and you know, built the whole concept of the trailer and how that can help people in ways that are just so necessary. And I think that's an innovation in itself. Again, if you can expand a little bit about the trailer, I just think that it's awesome that's being done. And I think it's just something that can lead the way to so many other shelters that maybe don't have the ability to do that.
One of the things that I think is really important is providing services that are needed of the clients and not vice versa, where you build something and make people kind of fit into that. And so being able to adapt and transform based on the community's needs is, I think, why we exist and why we work together. And so it can be controversial, or it can be inquisitorial in terms of providing maybe alcohol in a managed alcohol context, or providing supervision of intravenous drug use, but it's under a harm reduction lens and ultimately making things safer for individuals and the community.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's fantastic. The next question I have is really around the pandemic. And did you face any sort of new challenges? Like you mentioned already, the pandemic in itself is a challenge, but specifically related to the pandemic, or how did your services change? How did you take that opportunity to improve services for your clientele?
Well, I go back to early on in the pandemic, and while most places were having to shut down, we weren't able to do that. You can't shut down housing, you can't now shut down a shelter. And so we remained open. We never closed for 1 minute throughout. And the only reason we were able to adapt and respond was because of the staff on the front lines. They have, and they continue to keep showing up every day under challenging, stressful circumstances, and basically a sense of duty. And we were not going to abandon anyone. And so it's really to the staff team. And as a result, I would also suggest that the response in Ottawa has been phenomenal in all things considered. The entire sector, the partners, the key stakeholders from the municipal government all came and worked together. And I know we always strive to do this outside of global pandemics, but things can get busy. But really proud of how things genuinely came together and we all worked together collectively.
Yeah, it's amazing when you sort of, I don't want to say are forced to do it, but in a way it's like you have no other option but to really invest with your other partners in the community and put your heads together and find solutions, and in a time of crisis. So that's great. Right. What inspired you to get into this career in the first place? What keeps you here and in all of your work in at the Shepherds of Good Hope or other places? And can you share any kind of cool stories or anything that's remarkable that'll stay with you forever?
Right. Well, I knew early on I wanted a career that was meaningful to me, that gave some vitality and not just going in, punching the clock or what have you. So I think we're all faced with this concern about what we want to be when we grow up, probably until we retire. And I knew that doing something that gave impact and gave back to the community was important to me. In terms of inspirational story, remarkable story, what have you, I think what always gets me is when we see someone reunite with their family members for the first time after a long time. And the thing that Shepherds does is provides a whole continuum of care, literally from maybe day one of entering an emergency shelter all the way up to housing for forever. People. And so there's nothing more meaningful than seeing someone who has suffered with some precipitating factors and lost touch with their family, but through the help that the staff provide are able to get healthy again to the point where families coming and seeing them after 10, 15 years in their own home. Nothing more. That's what keeps us coming back. Yeah,
that's incredible. That's awesome. Switching gears over to something maybe not so heartwarming. Make sure I don't get too teary-eyed in this video session. Shiflink's obviously technology service provider. So we have seen, like, over the course of the last 4 or 5 years and working in this sector, that there isn't a lot of technology that's being used in social service environments, or it's minimal, or it's maybe an older platform. And I just wondered if you could speak to that a little bit. Do you see that in your industry? Is there a need for more technology? And if there is an innovation that you think could help, what would it be?
Yeah, I would agree with you. I would say that we're probably 10 years plus behind in our sector as it relates to technology. And so the print paper and write on it with a pencil and highlighter is not so foreign to many of us as our method. And so if I had to narrow it down into kind of one aspect where technology could be really helpful, it's just surrounding automation, more automation, and specifically around case notes and documentation. I think we've seen the social services rightfully just require much more documentation about client interactions, etc. But when you spend 15 minutes meeting with someone and then 25 to 30 documenting that conversation afterwards, you do the math quickly, and that eats into a large percentage of your day. And not
you could do 2 more client visits.
Per hour type of thing. And so I think something along those lines where we can automate some of that into written transcript would be my magic wand wish. To do that better.
That makes sense. Were you going to say something else?
Well, and then, just on that continuation of automation, and just how do we do less of the administrative work in order to be front facing for the clientele in our service? And so I do want to highlight ShiftLinks as it related to that, just where the team doesn't need to spend an hour filling shifts when it can be done so much easier, simpler, with the click of a button. And so just continuing those technologies.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for the shout out. What are your biggest challenges for Shepherds, and what can we do to help? Like I said at the beginning, we wanted this to be a spotlight for the organizations that we meet with. So what do you need? What are you looking for? Is there anything that we can broadcast out to our community partners and talk about what Shepherds needs?
Well, I have to say, of course, if you want to get involved, you want to make an impact, of course, cash donations is always going to help us. We are able to stretch the dollar with purchasing power, and that's always incredibly advantageous to us. What I will add to is a consideration for a career and/or volunteering with us. I think that, I know I can guarantee you that no matter what you go on and do in life, there will be no experience like working or volunteering at Shepherds. And so it's rewarding, it's fulfilling, and you'll be nothing like anything else you've ever done.
Absolutely. Are you able to take volunteers right now with the pandemic? And
yeah. So our programs depend on essential volunteers just with how we operate. And so that is an option. There is not all of the roles that we would like outside of a pandemic available, but right now those essential operational requirements are available.
Sure. Okay. So, and how do we get in touch? How do people get in touch with you about that?
You can visit our website at sghottawa.com, and all the information's there, just with a couple clicks on the links.
Okay, that's awesome. We will make sure that we post that as well in our link when we run this video. And I really appreciate you taking the time, and hope that you enjoyed this little video interview segment, and hopefully we can do this again.
Let's do it. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks so much.